Playoffs are looming, bats are booming, playing with precision as the M's go for the division. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sogcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Matt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nate.
Mariners are still playing great baseball. Winning baseball, one of the hottest teams in the league. Recently went on a long road trip, no off days, and went 8-2 on the road trip.
The road trap.
Road trap.
Mariners playing, second hottest team in baseball next to the Dodgers, but Dodgers are going to Dodger. So, hottest team in the American League. It's been phenomenal baseball. Great pitching, hitting up and down the lineup. And to almost take an entire road trip. Two of those games could have gone either way, especially the last one, losing to the White Sox, kind of chaos ball happening, a back pick to second, and JP careening a throw off of Tim Anderson's head. A little bit of a bummer. A little bit of a shit way to lose a game, but...
Yeah, right after taking the lead in the ninth inning, it was a 1-3 game, and we took the lead in the top of the ninth, right?
Yep, 3 runs in the ninth.
Man, it was clutch. We were up 1 run. We were in position to win that game, and we blew that one. But, we were on a long road trip, no days off. I don't blame the boys. It gets to be a drag after a while, and it was hot out there that day. I'm just making excuses. We should have won that game, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when the Mariners, like the last time they lost their 8-game win streak. It's rough and it's always frustrating when you feel like, all right, this was a winnable game, but it's just baseball. You're not going to win every game. So if you lose one after another 8-game win streak, it's a little bit easier to swallow, even though, yes, it definitely was a winnable game.
Having 2 8-game win streaks here late in this season is very nice. Like the Mariners took off second half of the year like we did last year, a little later this year. It took us into July and through the trade deadline to really get going. And they are clicking on all cylinders. They've been kind of going on overdrive, I was looking at up and I counted, we were like 33-13 in our last, I guess it was 46 games, but it's a crazy winning percentage. The Mariners are one of the hottest teams, and pair that with the Rangers really collapsing right now. They have a 6-game losing streak going on. They were swept by who? Boston?
The Diamondbacks.
Oh, the Diamondbacks. Yeah, the D-backs play really good baseball against the Rangers and took those games, one of them late, a walk-off fashion. And, the Mariners are just surging. The Astros are kind of floundering right now, too. They had Kyle Tucker out of the lineup for a minute. Jordan has been okay, but they haven't been clicking on all cylinders. They've lost a couple good pitchers this year, and everyone expected Houston to take this division at the beginning of the year. The Rangers jumped out to the lead. The Astros were hanging around like we expected them to do. Even with all of their injuries, they're still good, and the Mariners are finally surging. So, are we peaking too soon? Like, are the Mariners going to keep this up all the way through September? The soft schedule helps.
Soft schedule does help. I think we can keep up a similar pace. Obviously we're not going to... It's really hard to fire off, 9-game win streaks again, but I don't know. We do have a semi-easy schedule coming up. How about completing that sweep in Houston, though, since we last talked on Saturday? Sunday we went out, got the dub, kind of a stressful game, 7-6, a little more stressful than the other ones. But that was huge. Our first season series win against the Astros since 2018 could be huge, come down to a tiebreaker scenario, and it's always just nice to sweep a division rival. You just pick up 3 games on a team just by beating them 3 full games. So
especially in Houston, which just makes it all the more sweeter for us.
Yeah, that's really big to have the season series on the Blue Jays as well as the Astros. If it comes down to a tie-break situation, we have both of those in the bag.
It's the second time we've swept the Houston Astros this year. That feels really, really good.
That's amazing.
The
Love
Mariners have arrived.
And it's really nice, because what was it, just 2 years ago when the Mariners were 1-14 against the Astros for the entire season, and just, it was an automatic L every time we played them. And so now to completely change it around, and now we're kicking the Astros' asses, it's fun, and it's good because screw the Astros.
Yep. Even last year we won 90 games, but we were 3-15 against the Astros all year or something, and now it looks like we're the big brother.
The tide is shifting. It's the changing of the guard in the AL West. Here come the Mariners.
Tide is rising, boys. So at this moment on Thursday, it's an off day for the Mariners. We're 1.5 games out of the division in the West, tied with the Astros, and if the Rangers keep sliding, the Mariners are just gonna take that spot. We were hoping, even just a few weeks ago, that we'd slide into that third wild card spot and hold it, but we just keep surging.
On a day where we didn't even play baseball.
Yeah,
We rise the ranks,
we
baby.
move into the second spot.
Toronto's 1 game out of the wild card. Boston's 3.5 games out. The Mariners are in the best spot they've been in all year last year and this year. This is insane to think about taking the division. That was out of our minds 3 weeks ago. I didn't think we even had a chance at taking the division the way the Rangers lineup is built. But hey, things happen. Baseball happens. This is baseball. The Mariners getting hot in the second half of the season they've been really clutch. Julio has been on an insane tear, historic tear. And his numbers this year look like they match his career numbers, from last year. He's really turned it on and figured something out. He's standing up straighter. If you've noticed, he's not crouching or leaning in. His hands were kind of quiet and in the middle of his body, but now they're kind of back and up. He's standing more upright, and he's getting a lot more leverage on the ball. He's not just hitting it into the ground constantly.
He's also not setting his feet so wide apart. He's more straight.
Yeah, it's very nice to see that he's made an adjustment and has been able to get in the groove again. Mentally, he was in all sorts of funk earlier this year. So it's just really nice to see Julio confident again, because that's when he performs his best. And when Julio goes, this team goes.
Yeah, it can't be understated enough how big Julio performing well boosts the rest of the team. And it seems like a couple of the guys going through the sophomore slump. Cal, started off this season pretty damn abysmal. His power numbers were low at the beginning of the season. His average now is still on the lower side, but again, a catcher, it's to be expected. But he is hitting the ball so much more, and the power is definitely back. His home run numbers are through the roof right now.
Yeah, the last 30 games, he's hit 12 homers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go.
In his career, he's hitting .212 with 53 home runs, and that's the most home runs for any catcher from last year and this year combined, and this year alone. He's leading the MLB in home runs from the catcher position.
He's had 2 multi-homer games in this little 30-game stretch too, I think, right? 2 of them he's had 2 home runs in 2 of those games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also had 2 multi-home run games. Our boy Dylan Moore.
Yeah.
Demo.
Yeah.
He's back, baby.
Yeah. We touched in a little bit about how maybe we were a little bit too hard on Demo in the past. He's really coming around. His defense has been a little shaky, especially when we had JP out, who is now back, which is also huge. JP, best Mariner.
Best Mariner.
Best Mariner.
It's really, really nice to have JP back in the lineup and healthy. And yeah, it can kind of give Demo a little bit more rest, or kind of bounce him around a little bit instead of having the pressure of the shortstop position kind of cast on his shoulders. One thing that has kind of been affecting the Mariners, though, and this is kind of interesting with Dom and Josh Rojas coming in and the Paul Sewald trade. From the offensive side of things, they have both hit the ball very well. Rojas has really hit the ball well since coming over, and Canzone is doing pretty good. His outfield work is not very fun to watch, but at the plate he's doing good. Rojas is doing very well for us. What's interesting is them boosting us on the offensive side of the ball has also kind of cost us late in games by losing Paul Sewald. And now their boost has been nice to get us to a couple extra runs a game. However, not having Paul Sewald to shut it down in the ninth has hurt us. I mean, our last 4 losses, we were 16-4 in our last 20 games, and those 4 losses can all be contributed to not having Paul Sewald in the closer role. Munoz and Brash have both kind of, I mean, Munoz has the yips right now. There's no way else to put it. I don't think he's broken, but he is yipping hard, and he needs some type of soft reset to kind of get shit back together.
Yeah, Munoz, I don't know what's going on. His fastball looks really good and lively, but his slider is just hanging. Like, he just spins that thing up there, and it's not sweeping and breaking sharply like it was earlier in the season, which is concerning because he gets batters in 0-2 or in the hole, but then can't get him out because he'll hang a slider, and it just gets whacked, man. Like, hanger banger all day. And we've been seeing this over and over, and he needs to make a small adjustment. I don't know how. Like, he's really good. I know we know he's really good, but he's not consistent like Paul Sewald was. Like, when Sewald comes in, you expect him to get the job done, and that's that. We don't have that rock now. And like you're saying, man, Brash and Munoz are our guys that should be able to fill that role, right? But we haven't seen the best from either of them. Matt Brash looks like really good lately. He's been much more consistent than he has been all year long. It's just that when there's a runner on base, it's tough. Like, he'll throw wild pitches. They can steal on him like nobody's business. And same with Munoz. They can steal on both of those guys, which is really, really tough. When they have to go in the stretch and there's runners on, we're not managing base runners well when those guys are on the mound, and it's rough. So I'm not sure what kind of adjustment to make. Munoz needs to make a release point adjustment, some sort of, I don't know, a mechanical adjustment, and I think he'll be just fine when his slider's back and he's confident.
I think Munoz got really used to that 8th inning setup role guy where, it's high leverage. He was usually facing, the middle of the order, but there's a tiny bit less pressure as far as the game being like literally on the line and knowing that in the back of your head. I think he was that might be why his slider's not as aggressive right now. He's being trying to be a little too fine with it rather than just going out and just attacking, knowing that it's the 8th inning. You still have the 9th to shut him down with Paul coming in. I don't know. Maybe it's a little mental thing in the back of his mind. He's trying to be too timid, too fine, and he's kind of lost some of that nastiness on the slider. I don't know. So could be a mental thing. Maybe he just needs more 9th inning innings to figure it out. Maybe we, use him only in the 7th or 8th, let him dial his slider back in. I don't know, a couple of options I'm just throwing out there, but
yeah, it really does just suck not to have a rock back there and have to try to figure it out during the hottest part of our season when that was our strength all season, was having Sewald back there to close it down.
And one thing I think is interesting, like Matt said, is that he is getting ahead of these hitters. He's not falling behind and throwing all over the place. He's getting these guys 0-2, 1-2, and then he just can't figure out how to then get that final strike, or he leaves stuff in the heart of the zone and it's getting banged.
Yeah, he's not throwing a chase pitch. He's, the pitch isn't where it should be. It shouldn't be middle of the zone. It should be biting the edges and out of the zone, starting in the zone and ending out of the zone, or throwing that high fastball they can ride back in towards right-handed hitters like a 2-seamer does, even though it's a 4-seamer. He has a nasty sinker too. Like, if he throws that, if he doesn't feel good with his slider, it's still another thing for the batter to think about. And he has weapons. It's just his sliders has been his worst weapon lately, and it needs to be his best one. That's his put away pitch.
And I think honestly the issue, like, I don't want to completely freak out and be like, oh, he's lost it. He's not beneficial to the team. I really just think he's got the yips right now, and the yips breed more yips. It's just what happens, and you get stuck in your own head. You start overthinking, and you make even more mistakes. If there is a way that the Mariners, I think just 1 week, if the Mariners bullpen hopefully doesn't need him, because that is an unfortunate thing too, is like we use everyone in our bullpen pretty frequently. Like most guys are seeing work on a regular basis, especially guys like Munoz. If there is a way that we could have a week of starters going deep and avoiding Munoz, if possible, I think maybe just a week off him to maybe reset his head, kind of figure it out, and hopefully come back yipless, because he's just not having it right now. And, and where do you draw the line? Because one, you want the guy to get the reps, right? You want to show, yes, we trust you. We know you're a major league pitcher. You can get these outs. But if he's so stuck in his damn head right now that he can't get the outs, it's like a fine line of how much rest do you give him? Do you want to keep giving him chance after chance, but risk him blowing it again?
Yeah, it's kind of a trial by fire situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do we just let him watch and see like what other pitchers do in that situation and learn and just take that time off to think for himself and get right? Or do you want to throw him back into the fire and come out the other side a champion? You know what I mean? And I think at this point with a guy like that, you kind of have to keep throwing him out there in those situations until he's comfortable with it, because he's the guy that we want to be there and he has to get the job done in that situation. The way our offense has been performing and the way our pitching has been, I think it's okay to keep doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. The trial by fire method has worked for us all year long. But, at the same time, sometimes you do need a week just to kind of reset.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him not pitch for 3 to 5 days and try to get his shit together and work on that slider in the bullpen, in the lab, and then come out and show everyone, hey, I'm back, and I have no problem with that, especially going through this series here with the Royals and with the A's. Like, it's a good time to kind of give him a breather, or just tell him like, hey, go out there. These guys are not good hitters. Put him against a low leverage part of the lineup and let him eat.
I actually really, really like that so like, let's say that a week off and a soft reset isn't viable, and use him in earlier in the game, kind of less stress situations. Let him get that confidence back. Let him attack the zone and let him try to get that third out. And, also, is it maybe slightly mechanical, the way his slider is just not sliding right now? It could be just a very minor tweak that a pitching coach can work on and then give him some game reps against, the A's or the Royals, who played their asses off. The Royals played their asses off playing us. That series was a lot tougher than it should have been.
They gave us trouble.
And honestly, props to them, especially, shout out Bobby Witt Jr.
Oh, man.
They have some fun guys on that Royals squad. They're an atrocious ball club overall, but they have some fun guys. And those games were definitely, they weren't cakewalks.
No, they weren't. Salvador Perez always gets the best of us, and he got it done in a clutch situation late in the game, too. Bobby Witt Jr. is an absolute stud. I mean, it sucks that team is so bad, but, I mean, that's a team the Mariners need to beat. And I think it's kind of good that a bad team gives us a hard time also, because it puts into perspective, like, every game matters.
Mm-hmm.
You have to play every game to win. I mean, down the stretch, we're going to need to put that into play a lot. We play the Reds, we play the Angels again late in the season. I don't know, we have kind of a soft schedule, so we need to keep playing at a high level. So it's okay if one of those worst teams has a good series and, puts it to the test, puts us to the test when maybe we're not expecting it fully, and that keeps us on our toes for when we do start playing tougher teams like Tampa Bay again, like the Dodgers later in the season.
Speaking of the Angels, news just broke that
Oh.
Shohei Ohtani's got torn ligament in his elbow.
The old UCL, the old Tommy John.
The good old ulnar collateral.
Yeah, and he's saying that he's going to continue to bat.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, I think that's kind of worrying. Mike Trout is also now on the injured list again.
Bryce Harper did that last year. He tore his UCL at like, almost halfway through the season. I think it was just after the All-Star break or around the trade deadline. But from end of July through the World Series, he continued to bat. I believe he just DH'd. He didn't play the field at all the rest of the season. His
recovery is also a complete anomaly.
He's a freak, man.
Yeah. A little Angels talk real quick. I was legitimately heartbroken hearing that news if he does require Tommy John surgery, this will now be the second Tommy John of Ohtani's career.
Not a lot of guys come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yeah, and it used to be even just, 10, 15 years ago, Tommy John was almost an automatic death sentence. You got Tommy John, chances are you were never pitching again. And if you did, you would not have the movement and the speed that you used to. Now, recovery is still about a year, but a lot of guys are being able to come back from one Tommy John. But if we're looking at a second Tommy John for Ohtani, it is, I don't even want to sound like over dramatic on this. It could be possible that his pitching days are done. And that's heartbreaking for the game of baseball. It's so fucking sad. I'm so sad right now. Like, it really, really sucks.
Yeah, it's the worst because we've never seen a guy go out and do what Ohtani's been doing. And to be one of the best hitters in the league and a top 10 pitcher in the league is something we could never have dreamed of happening in our lifetime. But after his first Tommy John surgery, he came back and just hit and played the field a little bit. I think he was playing some right field or some outfield. After Tommy John, I'm assuming he's not going to be throwing for at least a year. You know what I mean? Like coming off of Tommy John, if he has to get Tommy John again, we won't see him pitch for a while. I think he will try to make a return to the mound at some point in his career. It's going to hurt his contract this free agency. He won't make quite as many millions as he would have. It's kind of scary now. The whole Shohei free agency conversation has changed. But he is still one of the best hitters, and he's going to continue to be one of the best hitters in the league with promise of returning to the mound down the road when he feels healthy. And with a managed workload, the Angels really put the workload on him this year, honestly.
Watch him come back and continue to shove, just write another epic arc in the Shohei story.
I wouldn't put anything past him. The dude is unreal. But
if anyone can do it, it's probably him.
Yeah. And honestly, I'll give him my UCL. I don't pitch much anymore. I'll learn to throw wiffle balls left-handed. He can take my arm. I don't care. I just want him doing what he does. This is so sad for baseball. There is one thing that really pisses me off is he has been complaining about arm fatigue for over a month now. He even skipped his last start. The start before that, he had it pushed back. So he knew his arm was tired. What the hell was the Angels training staff doing? They should have been on top of it. And I know Ohtani wants to get out there. He wants to pitch. He wants to do it all. But sometimes you got to save a player from himself. And the fact that he was saying, my arm's tired, it's feeling soggy. And the Angels are like, nah, you're fine. Make your next start. It's fine. And then this shit happens. Like, what are they doing over there in Anaheim that they've just, potentially ruined one half of the greatest player of all time's career?
I'm so mad at the Angels for that, dude. That's like criminal negligence almost. Like, dude, they used and abused him. I feel so bad for him. He found out after the first game yesterday, because they played a doubleheader. So after the first game, which he pitched in, he got the MRI, got the results back that there was a tear, and he still wanted to go out, and he still hit in the second game. He still played in that second game and hit. And I remember seeing a picture this morning. It was about halfway through the second game. He hit a double or hit a single and got on second base, and there was like a pitching change or some kind of timeout. and he was just kind of like standing at second base, like arms kind of crossed, just like looking down at his feet, like looking sad. And like looking at it now with context, like you knew that like he knew he had that torn UCL right there, and like his pitching season was done probably for, well, for sure for this year, and then probably through most of, if not all, next year too. And dude, I like seeing him play both. I don't want to see him be just a hitter for the next few years or the rest of his career. It's just so sad.
Yeah, I mean, I will say medical technology has gotten better. The more Tommy John surgeries that get done, the better and better it gets, and he's going to hire the best guy, you know what I mean? And there are guys who have come back from multiple Tommy John surgeries to pitch. When you're a pitcher, it's part of the road sometimes, you know. Some guys do have that. It just makes it more and more risky as you go down the road, and his workload will have to be lightened a lot. Like maybe he is a relief pitcher, you know what I mean? Maybe he hits all game and then he comes in the 7th inning and throws 1 inning. It just changes the trajectory of what kind of player he can be on both sides of the ball. If he has to get surgery, I mean, he won't be hitting either. He's going to be out for a whole year. And then he'll have to come back in 2025 and try to, I don't know if he'll try to do both at the same time again or just try to hit first. But I don't know. It's worrisome. It makes me worry a lot. Like, it reminds me of Jacob deGrom, those guys that go out there and give everything they've got, and then their arm just continues to fall apart periodically, and you can't maintain that. Those guys are monsters. They're doing something that overtaxes their joints and their tendons, and it's just, you can't repeat that for a long time. You can only do it for short periods of time, which is what we've seen with Ohtani and with DeGrom.
Not to spend too much time on it, I guess, but what do you think he does as far as surgery timeline? Do you think, since the Angels season is, let's be honest, they're done, do you think he gets surgery now or before the season's over, try to get back sooner, or does he go it's a little different situation than Bryce Harper last year, because they were in a playoff chase. He's like, I'm going to hit the rest of the season, worry about this in the off season. I mean, what do you think? What should he do? What would you do?
Shoot, man. He's still in like an MVP race right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, home run title race.
And home run title. He hit his MLB leading 44th home run.
Oh, my God. So it's tough, man. He kind of stopped pitching as much when the Angels fell off the playoff train, right? After the Mariners swept them, they were dead in the water, and he missed a start after that. He knows. I think they let him do what he wants to do. If the team's competing and they're going for a playoff push, he's going to be doing everything he can to help that team win. But now that they're obviously out of it, like, just he's definitely dialed it back already. He's come out of a couple games or missed a couple starts, and it's obvious that they're not using him the same way they did when they were actually in the race. And that's okay. I think Ohtani they give him the space to do what he wants to do. If he wants to be in the lineup that day, if he wants to continue hitting this year, great. And I think he will. I think he's going to continue to hit this year and get the MVP award in the American League based on what he's done on the mound already and what he can continue to do down the stretch offensively. But I think he'll get surgery in the offseason during his free agency, and the team that signs him is going to have to wait and help him get to where he needs to be to continue dominating when he gets back. And it's going to be a weird free agency now. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it definitely changes the tone of it, because he could have potentially, I mean, we were talking about over $500 million, like $600 million contract, because he was two players in one.
For 10 to 12 years, yeah.
Yeah, and now that game, or half of his game, is essentially taken away from him, potentially, you're looking at his contract essentially being cut in half. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be $200-300 million, but we were looking at one of the highest contracts in sports history, and now due to this devastating injury, that won't be the case.
Do we think about, like, we're thinking about max contracts being that 10 to 12 year huge number, right? But what if this injury makes it so a team doesn't want to pay him for 10 years? You know what I mean? Maybe the contract length now is cut in half, where we're like, okay, well, let's do 5 years with an option, like team option after 3 years to see what happens after like post surgery here. And like, talk about an extension down the road. It won't necessarily be every team's looking to sign him up for 10 years, but we'll see. I'm not sure. It's something that just changes the whole trajectory of his career and his free agency. So it's a real bummer, man. He's the best baseball player I've ever seen and ever heard of. So I want him to do his best, and I hope he returns to the mound in a couple of years and just puts everything back together.
Me too. Also, circling back to Mariners talk, again, this is crazy that it happened to us. The Mariners last year, as we've discussed on the pod before, no starters went down with injury at all last year. It was insane. It was a complete anomaly. Now, on top of that, the Mariners have just lost another starter and their second rookie this year to come and start for us and get hurt and be out for the season. It happened with Easton McGee and now Emerson Hancock, another highly touted prospect, rookie coming up, making his debut, and immediately goes on the 60-day DL.
Yeah, it was his third start?
Second or third, yeah. And it sucks. It's also so weird for the Mariners to go from injury-free to kind of being plagued by injuries on the pitching side this year. Robbie Ray, Hancock, McGee, Penn Murphy,
Marco
Gonzalez. Just pitchers dropping like flies. Yet the Mariners still have phenomenal pitching, which is crazy.
When you have guys like Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby making every start, it really holds it down.
It's so weird, and again, the Mariners call up guys, they perform well, but it's weird to see some of them drop with injuries this year. Brian Wu is back from his short injury stint. Woo! And again, I don't think his injury stint was even that major. They said that from the beginning. I think a part of it was also kind of inning management. And he had some slight arm inflammation or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, a rookie coming up from AA, the MLB season is a lot more grueling and taxing. So it kind of made sense. Okay, you're a little sore. Let's put you on the IL for, 2 weeks? And, get a little bit of rest. And he's come back and performed well.
Not to mention, we're going to have to manage his innings down the road, too. So if he has a shoulder strain or discomfort, throw him on the IL and try to fill in some of those innings now so we can use him down the stretch instead of worrying about his max innings in September when we need him the most, especially playing Texas and Houston and then Texas again for our last 10 games of the season. We're going to need him then, so it's good that he can take a couple weeks off here and miss a couple starts and use those innings later.
And as for other Mariners rookies, Cade Marlowe had an astronomical rise, was hitting the hell out of the ball. He has kind of fallen back down to earth, which is to be expected.
Kelenic style.
Yeah, a lot like Kelenic, although it took Kelenic a little bit longer to get real hot. Cade came in really hot, was batting over 300 for a good chunk of his, albeit small sample size of the season, but he was hitting the ball well. He has, come back to being human, but that is also just the ebbs and flows of baseball, especially with rookies. You'll have a rookie come in, be extremely hot, and then pitchers adjust, and it's always a game of cat and mouse, and then pitchers learn how to pitch to the hitter a little bit more, and they're able to get them out, and then a good hitter will then make their adjustments, and vice versa, and on and on and on. So Cade can still make his adjustments. He's just in the little slump part right now as pitching has adapted to his hitting style. I do like to believe that he is good enough that he can come back from this, though, and kind of rise back up.
Yeah. For context, let's say the last 30 games, that's all of his games. He's hit 244 with a 747 slug. But in the last 15 games, 188 with a 250 slug. And last 7 games, 148 with, 480 OPS. It's not great at all. He hasn't been doing much recently, but we've seen what he can do. I really like his swing from the left side, and it's filling in for Kelenic while he's gone. And when we get Kelenic back, we can have both of those guys around. I don't know. It's kind of weird to have Canzone, Kelenic, and Marlowe around, but we do expand our roster here soon, right? In September, we get to expand our roster 2 slots or 1?
It goes up to 28, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So we can have those guys on our roster. And I was thinking about, like, when Kelenic comes back, what do we do with the Canzone, Kelenic, Marlowe, and Ford situation? Because those are all the left-handed bats that we have for, like, outfielder DH. You know what I mean? So does one of them have to go, or do we keep all of them around?
I think depending on how well Kelenic takes his at-bats, if he hits well, then I think you got to drop Ford.
One thing I think is kind of funny, how many times, I mean, even from last season, we've always talked about, oh, we have too many outfielders. And, you know, it's like, oh, we've got Trammell, we've got Teoscar, Kelenic, blah, blah, blah. But then someone is always getting injured, and we've never actually had the surplus of outfielders that we think we're going to have. Because inevitably, one guy comes up and starts playing well, and someone gets hurt, someone gets injured. It is kind of funny that we're all like, oh, too many outfielders, it's a good problem to have, but then we never end up with too many outfielders. So if Kelenic comes back, which, I mean,
yeah, there's no timetable on that.
Yeah, there's
yet.
not even any whispers of him like rehabbing.
Well, I heard that he got out of his walking boot, and that
was the last
timetable
update,
was like still September, beginning mid-September.
Well, that's good.
I've heard he was doing baseball activities, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked it up like this week, but I remember looking it up last week, and the timetable was still for September. So I was expecting that we'll have him back by mid-September.
His baseball activities is just him playing career mode on MLB The Show. Like, I'm getting back into it. But yeah, I mean, who's to say? I guess who's going to be the odd man out and when we finally, if ever, get this surplus of outfielders? It would make sense for Ford to possibly go, although he does have the occasional power, and in a deep playoff lineup, sometimes it's okay to have that all or nothing guy. He's not going to be an everyday player. He's not going to see that much playing time, but I can understand wanting to keep Ford on the roster. For me, I don't think he's an automatic DFA. I can understand people's argument for wanting him gone, but you know, if we have 4 kind of non-power, kind of speedy guys, I think one of those could go for this potential power bat off the bench.
Originally, yeah, I was thinking Ford could go, but I mean, he is a nice piece to have on the bench. He can be clutch. He has potential to pop a homer more than any other guy on our bench would. Cade Marlowe might be the odd man out too. I was thinking Ford or Marlowe might be the guy, but Marlowe we could send down to like AAA, right? We can keep him on our 40-man, but I think Ford we have to DFA because he forced our hand earlier this year, and we signed him to this major league contract, right? So I think it's a forced like DFA, and he'd probably go to elect for free agency instead of coming back to sit around and not be in the playoffs for our team. So I honestly think we just send Marlowe back down and keep him on our 40-man and keep Ford around now that I'm thinking about it more, even though Ford seems like the odd man out. We have too many outfielders if Kelenic comes back and performs well. If Marlowe doesn't continues to do what he's doing and doesn't break out again, he might be the odd man out.
But I mean, if Kelnic's not back till September, we don't even have to send anyone down or DFA him to bring him back.
I'm saying like
it's just expanded rosters, just adding a few guys at that point.
Sure, I'm just looking ahead to where like maybe we do have one too many left-handed bats on our bench when rosters expand and Kelenic gets back. We're gonna see that picture develop here in the next few weeks and continue talking about it, but just speculating for now. So we've had some players that got off to slow starts get a lot better this year. Like we've talked about Cal Raleigh. We've talked about Ty France has been kind of streaky, but he's been better recently. But I want to talk about Teoscar Hernandez because, like, notorious slow starter, apparently, he's been tearing it up in the summer. He's putting the barrel on the ball a lot better, laying off of pitches that were bad chase pitches for him earlier in the year. Crushes lefties. We see why we got this kind of hitter, right? Like, he'll chase that pitch down and away from right-handed pitchers, but from lefties, when that pitch is breaking into his bat, he crushes. So what do we do with Teoscar? Like, we're kind of saying we have a bunch of young outfielders coming up. We don't know how that's going to shake out because of the way the Mariners outfield is always moving.
Yeah.
We signed Teoscar for 1 year. I think we throw him the qualifying offer and try to have him around for one more year. I don't know about signing him up for multiple years, but at least offering him the qualifying offer, and if he denies that, we get a draft pick from it. Like, do we try to sign him up and keep him around, or is he too much volatility in our lineup going into the future where we are kind of raising this young core of kids?
I'm 100% on board with giving him a qualifying offer. See if he bites, see if he wants it. And if not, I don't think it's the end of the world if he doesn't sign with the Mariners next year. I would like to have him. He's been
he's been a big part of our lineup recently.
Yeah, he's been really good for us as long as he's not running the bases. But
oh, man. His base running blunders are terrible.
Didn't he get a steal this week?
He did, yeah.
I think he listened to the pod. He heard us talking all the shit about his base running ability, and he was like, I'll show those soggy bastards what's up.
But yeah, he has really, really come around. His defense is fine. He doesn't have the most range out there, doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's serviceable. You'd want him out there over Dylan Moore or Haggerty.
Honestly, he's a good DH if we have better defensive outfielders too. And he has a little bit of speed. It's not that he's not speedy. It's just that his decision making hasn't been the best on the bases. He doesn't have the best arm in the outfield. So he's more of a pure hitter than he is a defender, base runner. But I don't know. Do we sign him up for more than 1 year? Do we if I know the qualifying offer seems like a good route, but could you see the Mariners signing him up for like 3 years, $65 million or something like that to go over the qualifying offer and offer him like 22 to 25 a year?
Personally, I don't see them signing him for an extended period, but I want to respond to your question with another question that I asked these guys last week while you were gone. If Cade Marlowe continues to be really, really hot, going into next year, how do you feel about, tossing the qualifying offer at Teo? And if he doesn't take it, okay, we have Kelenic, Julio, and Marlowe in right field. Kelenic in right field, Marlowe in left field, Julio as our center fielder. Like, is that a good place to start with the outfield, and along with all the depth we have at those positions as well? How do you feel about something like that happening?
That's good. I think it'd be hard to say like that should be our starting outfield. I would want to sign another outfielder in the offseason still. If we don't have Teoscar, I'd like to see them sign a free agent or make a move to get a higher caliber hitter in the outfield like Teo, because we can't rely on extended progression from young players as much as we can from a veteran like Teoscar Hernandez, who has turned it around and showed us why we signed him finally. And I don't know. I think we need to still add to the outfield if Teo walks.
You fucking smart, dude. Because, our last 3 opportunities to sign dudes, 2 off seasons and a trade deadline, we haven't done hardly anything.
Yeah. Yeah, a free agent signing would be nice if Teo walks. I think we do the qualifying offer route. We offer him the qualifying offer and see if he wants to stay around. If he doesn't, we get a draft pick and we move on and try to sign a free agent that can fill a hole, preferably a right-handed guy, which is usually not our problem. Usually we want the lefty bat, but we just picked up Canzone, we have Marlowe, we have Kelenic, who are all left-handed. So now we would need a right-handed bat, which is the opposite problem we've had recently. I do like the plethora of young left-handed outfielders that we have.
One thing I would also disagree with like, oh, well, maybe Teo could just be a DH, is he would almost then be a platoon DH, because we've been rocking Tom Murphy and Cal as kind of DHs when they're not catching. Now, again, they would still need days of rest. Just that comes with the territory of being a catcher. But if you want Tom Murphy and Cal to be DHing, that leaves Teoscar. And if he's not in the outfield because our young bucks are doing better defensively, then he's just DHing sometimes. And that doesn't really seem worth the roster spot to me.
Tom Murphy's contract is up at the end of this season. I don't think we've signed another contract, but we didn't trade him, and he's happy to be around. He's hurt right now with a sprained thumb, but I don't know what we're going to do with Murphy, because we don't offer Murphy the qualifying offer. That's like $19 million. That's way overpaying for someone like Tom Murphy. So we'd have to negotiate a contract with him.
I'll be
We
devastated.
wouldn't have Tom Murphy next year if that's what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know Tom Murphy has filled in as our DH because we didn't really fill that hole in our lineup from the get-go. Like, we knew at the beginning of the season that we have a hole at our DH spot. It was the worst spot in our lineup for a few months to start the season. And we've pulled up Ford. We've done everything we can to fill that DH spot, but we haven't had a legit hitter in there, like a Yordan Alvarez or like a JD Martinez. And I think Teoscar could fill that hole nicely if we have enough outfield depth. So we'll see. I think holding on to Teoscar for another year would be nice, but signing him to 3 years would be a little expensive and not the Mariners' style. So we'll see what happens.
Where are we at on that young catcher coming up?
Oh, Harry Ford.
Yeah.
He's performing great. He's still, though, down in Everett. I think it's going to be a while before he
Couple years.
At
cracks.
least another year or two.
Probably
'cause
2 years.
He's only in high A right now, yeah.
So do we pay Tom Murphy for another year or two?
That'd be great. We're paying Tom Murphy $1.6 million right now. Like, he's just coming off of his last arbitration contract, so we'd have to pay him a good, I don't know, 6-8 mil maybe. I don't know, something more viable. We'd have to pay the man, but we have guys coming up otherwise. Like, we keep pulling up Brian O'Keefe when we need him.
Props to him. He got it done the other day.
I think the Mariners will probably just ride with him if we don't end up signing up Tom Murphy again, which I hope we do.
I hope we do too. He's one of my favorite
I'm
players.
not saying Tom Murphy should walk. I'm just saying his contract's up, and it'd be nice to sign him as a free agent. But we do have young and up-and-coming catcher pipeline. So I don't know what the Mariners are going to do. Maybe they spend more on a big free agent than they do on Tom Murphy for once, but I don't know. It seems like they'd make those small moves, like keeping Tom Murphy around to keep the chemistry how it's been, and he's been a legit guy for us. If we just sign him for a couple of years, then that'd be great, but I don't know. We really have to wait and see what the offseason looks like and what if the Mariners' offseason strategy changes, like we've been talking about. They've been in rebuild mode. Now we're going to have to go be in go for it mode, and we'll see if they're more aggressive on free agencies.
Figure out a way to start the season a little hotter too.
Yeah, could you imagine if the Mariners were playing like the way they're playing since the All-Star break, if they played like that before the All-Star break as well?
Mariners would be forced to be buyers.
Yeah, and I mean, we would be one of the top teams in all of baseball. Like right now we're still pushing for the division. I mean, the division is a couple games away. And if the Mariners had just started out hot, we would be comfortable in the lead right now. And it's kind of, taking the Mariners, their late hot streak, and now the Rangers starting to fall. Big losing streak for Texas, and they're going up against the first place, air quotes, Minnesota Twins right now. The AL Central is a joke of a division. But the Rangers could keep losing, the Mariners could keep winning. But if I just imagine how much stress would be relieved if the Mariners just started off hot instead of having to wait for these late season pushes.
And that's the other thing about signing Teo again, too, is that he's going to be cold
Yeah.
starting out. We were warned about that by Blue Jays fans when we got him. But, I mean, his bat is so sick, and he's turned it all the way around. But can we wait another half season to get that kind of momentum going? Start it off that way.
Mm-hmm.
The Mariners have reached the softest part of their schedule. We've started playing through it. We played KC. We ended up sweeping Houston, which, like I was saying before, like that was a prove-it series for the Mariners. And Patrick, you were worried that we weren't going to be playing like playoff caliber baseball. And I mean, look what happened. The Mariners have stayed hot. They got on another winning streak, like I was mentioning a couple weeks ago. Like, okay, well, let's just start another long winning streak because it's the soft part of our schedule and keep it rolling.
Let's just win all the games.
Let's stack wins right now while we have the opportunity. And then when we played the tough team, we kept it rolling. So right now we play the Royals and the Oakland A's at home. That's a 6-game home series. And then in September, we go to New York. We go to Cincinnati. We go to Tampa Bay. And the Mets have fallen apart this year. They were projected to be really good and have not been good. So playing KC, Oakland, and New York all in a row should be another nice stretch for the Mariners where we can really stack some more wins and make it apparent that we're on this stage and maybe boost into that first spot in the West for once. We have Cincinnati and Tampa Bay after that, which are a little bit tougher teams. Tampa Bay hasn't been the hot team they were early in the season. They've had a lot of injuries hold them back and also the Wander Franco stuff. So vibes are weird over there and they're not playing their best baseball. Cincinnati's been playing really well. They have Ellie De La Cruz, a bunch of young, exciting players. They're going to be a tough series because that's
going to be a fun
electric.
series.
I'm so excited for that Red series. De La Cruz is so fun to watch. That is going to be, to see him playing against the Mariners, it's going to be really, really fun. I'm super looking forward to that.
How can you not love that guy?
I know, he's awesome.
He's really great. But the Reds are only a slightly worse record than the Mariners, right? We're kind of on even tiers there.
Yeah, they're fighting for they're in the wild card race in the NL. The NL wild card race is super interesting right now. There's like 4 teams like all within a game or a half a game of each other.
Yeah,
and Cincinnati currently holds the 3rd wild card spot as of today, August 24th, by a half game over Arizona and San Francisco. So
they are 67 and 61 on the season. So they're having a decent year.
How far are they out of the division, and where are the Brewers at?
Brewers are in first place, and Cincy is 3.5 games back.
Oh, they're still in the race there then, too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have a big old wild card race going on then. The Central in both divisions is kind of a shit show where, I mean, there's a little bit of distance now in the American League where the Twins kind of took one step up and are like 5 games above 500. But I mean, in both leagues, there's a really big wild card race, and I kind of like the expanded wild card spot because of that. It puts a lot more teams in the race, and more games matter down the stretch. I like scoreboard watching a lot more with the extra wild card spot.
Yeah, it makes it a lot of fun, and kind of every game across the league matters or has potential to affect where you are in the standings. Also, the Mariners right now currently have the 6th best record in baseball. 6th best record. I mean, that is crazy. The only teams above them are Atlanta, Baltimore, Dodgers, Rays, and Texas.
Through 100 games, the Mariners were 50-50. Like,
that's wild. Yeah. We would have never guessed, like, looking forward.
I mean, we always hoped.
Ago.
We kept our fingers crossed of, like, hopefully they get hot. But even now, like, through the stratosphere, I mean, yeah, when you win, like, 32 of your last, like, 45 games, like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a shift.
Just constant winning baseball. And even their losses. And what's funny is, like, their losses, like, for example, the loss that prevented them from sweeping the White Sox. are winnable games. It really goes down to the wire, and they probably should have won that game, which also makes it frustrating. But also, it's like you can't win every game. Baseball is gonna baseball.
Yeah, in baseball, like, you can have all the skills and all the things you need on paper, but like chemistry and like the intangible things in baseball, like the mental game as well, are all things that kind of go unnoticed. We've been talking about it all year, where in the beginning of the year, we saw the frustration from the players. We saw the lack of chemistry. We saw that they weren't picking each other up the right way. Like, they didn't have each other's backs. It's just a couple pistons were firing. Everything was misfiring. You know what I mean? But they held it together long enough. It's not like they didn't want to win. They all were there to win. It was just frustrating. Like, Kelenic kicking the cooler was the end of the frustrations. Like, I think Kelenic sacrificed his foot for the Mariners to go off, baby. Like, it's weird how we just need a little catalyst sometimes, and that ended up being like a huge turning point for the Mariners. And it was the end of the frustrations. He paid for all of our frustration, and now everyone pulled together and can be good, like, to each other, have each other's backs. And the chemistry is so good in the dugout. I love all the expressions the players make when they hit home runs or carrying the trident and making good plays on the field. I love how they interact now. Things look right. They don't look shaky. They're confident. They know they're going to go roll over shitty teams and, like, just keep stacking wins right now. There's no option. Like, they're just on a roll, and they're riding the roller coaster and smiling and, like, looking at each other and showing how excited they are now. Like, it looks good. And JP's back. The glue of the team is back. When he was gone for a week, things were a little different. I could feel the chemistry shift, but he's back. And the team is just going to keep rolling forward. There's nothing that's going to stop this momentum right now.
Kelenic's foot died for our sins.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Excellent point at the end there, too, of the team did feel slightly off when JP was gone. Even when they were still winning games, it did feel slightly different. And just having him back, he's a staple in this team. And just to have him out there in our roster, it's really fun and just nice to have him back. And again, something we've always touched on, winning solves everything. We even had the discussion when the Mariners were losing and they were busting out the trident and it seemed forced and just like, oh, we have to do this because it's our prop. And now they're having fun with it. Every time, now they're excited to grab the trident. When before it was like, ho hum, I can't believe I have to do this shit. We're still down by 4.
That was painful to watch.
Just
like, damn, why do we get this gimmick now when we suck?
Yeah.
No, the gimmick rules. I like the trident a lot.
Yeah, no, I
too.
absolutely love it too. But it was just when we were losing and we still had to pretend like, oh, this is fun. So it's nice to now, like, see all the players having fun. Also, you notice they always throw seeds on each other.
Yes.
They're big at throwing
seed shower.
Seed shower. Yeah, and it's just all those types of stuff and when you're one of the hottest teams in baseball, I mean, winning begets winning. I mean, it's a momentum. I
think it said that in Genesis, right?
Winning begat winning.
Yeah, their first album.
Kelenic's foot died for our sins. Winning begets winning. Okay.
Yeah, Kelenic bankrolled the whole vibe of the team with that foot.
Yeah, he did. All the negative energy went into that kick and exploded in his ankle bone. And the new Mariners were able to rise from the ashes of the dust of his bones settling into his foot.
Kelenic Phoenix foot.
Unfortunately, he didn't rise miraculously 3 days later and perform miracles. But, I mean, the miracles are happening. And he'll be back.
I really want him to change his walk-up song after his return to something very foot-related. How about Fight for Your Right to Party? The very beginning is, kick it! Kick it! Or, can I kick it? Yes, you can.
Hey, well, DM him on the X and see if you can Get him to change his walk-up music when he comes back. That'd
I'm
be
not
dope.
gonna do that.
No.
From the Sogcast.
No.
All right, I'll do it.
I don't.
No.
I don't have auto updates on my phone, so it's still just Twitter for me. I have no changes to my. I don't know. I don't see X anywhere because I refuse to update my apps. I still got Flappy Bird.
Hey, we got a new Seattle Redner in Luke Weaver.
Yeah, we do. And he was dominant. Two innings, 5 strikeouts. Against the
30-year-old 7 ERA guy. Got it done for the Mariners.
Yeah, dude.
Welcome to the Seattle Redners.
Weaver's
Luke.
been around for a little while, and he hasn't really shown his best as a starting pitcher, but if we want to use him in a long relief type situation, that's great. He's kind of used to going longer in his career, and he's kind of like a Chris Flexen type guy in our bullpen right now, which I kind of like. We kind of need a long relief guy.
I was actually just about to say that is one thing the Mariners have been lacking is a guy that can go over an inning and a half. Like 2 innings from anyone in our bullpen has been stretching it. So it's nice to have kind of this guy that can give long relief if needed and give all of our other relievers a break. I mean, shit, in the, I can't remember if it was, I think it was the last Astros game. We used 7 pitchers in that game and a 9-inning game. That's too many damn pitchers. Then it affects your series after that. And especially we were going without any rest. And you're using too many bullpen guys in one game.
That's why we send up guys like McCocken to fill in and like send them back down. You know, we have a bunch of guys that we can kind of Devin Sweet guys we can bring up and send down in that kind of situation where we're forced into using 7 pitchers because of injury, right? Like it's not like a guy got blown up and we were forced to do that, and it sucks. And we're lucky that we have such a pool of pitchers. What I do like about Luke Weaver is the like veteran qualities he can bring to our bullpen around all those young guys who are coming in and trying to get it done for the first time down the stretch with this type of pressure. And I don't know if Luke Weaver's been there before, but he's been around long enough to bring a little bit of veteran quality to our bullpen. So.
Oh, and I get it, but again, like just the fact that we don't have a guy that could before Weaver, we didn't seeing a reliever go 2 innings, you're like, holy shit, he's really getting taxed out there today.
Yeah, look what happened to Penn Murphy.
Yeah, we
Jeez.
just don't have long relief guys. So I think Weaver is a great addition. And let's be real, the Mariners pitching staff, we have been known to take these guys with elevated ERAs. And they know what to do behind the scenes, and they fix these guys.
Seawald, Topa, Spire, all those guys are guys that the Mariners have fixed.
And I cannot remember if it was Weaver or Logan Allen, but one of them said that they were really excited to join the Mariners because of how our pitching staff works with the pitchers and being able to bring the best out of these bullpen arms. And, it's true. And you see it time and time again. It's very rare that we bring in a bullpen pitcher and he's just consistently dog shit. It has happened, but also they're not on the roster for very long because we know that they're easily replaceable with some other guy that can come up and do very well.
Yeah, there's no more Bobby Ayalas around here. It is crazy, though. Just like in the entire league, think about all the young pitchers that are coming up with crazy stuff. On every team, you can pull up a guy from AAA that's throwing 97 with a wipeout slider. It's just how well are they going to handle it, and are they going to be able to do it consistently? And are you in a spot where you need that, or do you want to start their MLB clock yet? There's just a huge talent pool right now. Kids are coming up and being trained to throw 99 miles an hour and throw wipeout sliders because their pitches are made on a computer. And they're like, here, match this arm angle and this spin rate, and it's going to go nuts. Your 2-seamer is going to be nuts. And just with the talent pool in every sport, too, like every position is getting better and better. And pitchers in baseball, especially relief pitchers, have become more dime a dozen, like you said, Patrick, because there's so much talent right now. There's so many guys throwing 95 plus with wipeout sliders that pick one and make them your project. And the Mariners have been so good at completing their projects with ultimate success. They're taking guys that other teams didn't have the analysis for and fixing their mechanics to make their pitches amazing. Look at Seawald's fastball. They've adjusted his arm angle, and his fastball looks like it's rising. Like, that's unhittable, even though it's 93 miles an hour. It's just they're playing a different game than a lot of these other teams are. And the Mariners pitching has been one of the best pipelines in baseball. I think maybe the best pipeline in baseball for the last 5 years. Like, thinking back to when we were talking about Kirby and Gilbert and guys like that when they were in the minor leagues and when they were in Double-A, and we were like, look out, dude, here they come. And the whole pipeline from front to back has been amazing. So, I mean, no complaints there. Let's work on the offensive side of things a little bit, huh? Let's produce some hitters. I don't know.
And hopefully we can give our bullpen a little bit more of a rest coming up with a very, well, on paper, potentially very easy homestand. It's nice with the Mariners having a day of rest, especially after their long road trip. So they get a day of rest, and then at home against the Royals and the A's. Hopefully our bullpen doesn't get too taxed, and hopefully this is a real nice home series. Fans coming out, bolstering the Mariners, second hottest team in baseball. Make sure you go to the ballpark and cheer these boys on. They have been firing on all cylinders, and these are very, very winnable games coming up, and it should be fun and definitely the Mariners' chance to rise in the rankings. So keep in tune with what the Mariners are doing. We'll be here next week to give you all the exciting insight and Mariners news. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we'll be back next week with more Mariners knowledge. Thank you all, and go Mariners!
Yo, the Mariners?
I love
the fucking Mariners?